very beautiful morning to you. It's 11:30 on Women Radio 91.7. Today being the 17th day in the month of March, and this is Her Voice. Her Voice is the program that condemns all forms of violence and discrimination against women and girls. Her Voice is that initiative of Women Radio 917 in partnership with Action Aid Nigeria and supported by Global Affairs Canada. My name is Victoria Waifo, and today we'll be discussing gender equality, a possibility or a mirage in Nigeria. And with me today in the studio, of course I don't do this alone, I have two amazing women with me in the studio today. And let me start off with Zira Talib. Yeah, so I have Zira in the studio today. She's a program manager of She Tank.
Yes.
Good morning, Zira.
Good morning. Good morning.
Thank you for joining us today. And I also have Feikemi Idowu Fabi. She is the Continental Secretary, Advisory Board of AYF. She's here in the studio with me today. Good morning, Feikemi.
Morning.
Thank you for joining us.
You're welcome.
And of course, you look beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you. So let's go to the subject matter. It's gender equality, a possibility or a mirage. And this is Women's Month. Some days ago we celebrated the International Women's Day, and it was all over the place. Oh, I am generation equality, realizing women's rights, So we want to look at gender equality, if it's a possibility or we are just simply, singing our trumpet out there. Research has said that women have been subjected to marginalization, some kind of discrimination, deprivation of equal resources, and some women also don't have equal opportunities like the men counterpart do. And it's kind of worrisome because gender, it's supposed to be, there's supposed to be some form of balance. Whether you are a woman or a man, it shouldn't really matter. You should be looking at the capability of that individual. But Nigeria as a state is really amazing that we get to sign every law on gender equality, everything that has to do with moving the nation or the world at large forward. We are a party to that signature, and we just sign on paper, we don't effect it. So it brings me to the question today: is gender equality truly a possibility or a mirage? Let me start with you.
Yes, it's a possibility, but then the question comes to, okay, in what time frame? So are we saying, is gender equality a possibility in the next 10 years? Then the answer is no. But if we're saying maybe in the next 100 years, then of course the answer would be yes. So according to several different organizations, they say on a global scale we can reach gender equality in 108 years. So then this is on a global scale, but Nigeria ranks 128th out of 153 countries. So when we think about Nigeria, and the world is already at 108 years, we'll have to add maybe another 50 years to that time frame. So saying maybe Nigeria will be 158 years before we reach gender equality.
So Feikemi, I want to hear your opinion. Do you think gender equality is a possibility?
I will agree with what my partner said, but on other opinion, we can actually achieve this thing even within, although it's going to be a long-term frame, but it is not what can actually go a very long way like that. Mm-hmm. Take it, for example, I just want to chip in this. Take, for example, what Not Too Young to Run did in 2017 and 2018. They actually came together under one umbrella, and they make their voice known to all African countries, not even only in Nigeria. Yeah. So if women can come together as one voice, we have one voice, unity, under one umbrella, under a single network. This thing will help us to really achieve this thing within a very short time period. For what they did that time, they organized press conferences, and they spread their network across the whole states, including the FCT. So if women can actually come together like this in one body, to speak in one voice, to speak in multilateralism, it's really help us to achieve this thing within a very short time frame. I posted something on social media that was during when we were celebrating International Women's Day. So I was, each for equal, everybody was celebrating, and you wouldn't believe I saw some messages in my inbox, and some men actually sending me messages that equality, like a big question mark. Are you contending with men? Do you want to make yourself the same
Man.
with men? You understand? So, well, okay, we are not really getting this thing. We need to change our mindset. Equality is the outcome. The outcome of achieving sameness is quite different from equity. But equally, men believe we want to be rubbing shoulder with them. You understand? But this thing is for a woman to be able to stand up without even requesting for her rights. So okay, this thing it's a woman right, it's her right. So just give it to her without her requesting for it. Even in look at our gross domestic products now. If women could be on this table, if women could really participate massively, it is going to rise from 23. It's going to be like 23%.
Right.
Yes, above. So that is like $229 billion. So, and this thing will really help us. But they don't really want women to be out there rubbing shoulder with them, even in the sectors.
So what you're saying is give a woman an equal opportunity.
Yes, equal opportunities. If we can have the content as a man is having it, even in the entrepreneurship sector, in every sectors in Nigeria, it will really help us.
Okay, so I would like to ask Zira now, what are the barriers to gender inequality?
Gender inequality or equality?
Inequality, because it's inequality that is causing this problem. There is no balance between women and men. So you feel like, okay, because she's a woman, I cannot. She's a weaker sex. She cannot do what the man is doing. She doesn't have that physical appearance, the skill, and everything needed. So what are the barriers to achieving equality?
I would definitely have to say culture for one.
So it's cultural.
Yes, it's very cultural, and I think within our culture we can always say that, my religion says this, my religion says that, women are not supposed to do this, women are not supposed to do that. For instance, taking the GEO bill, which is still trying to be enacted in Nigeria. A lot of the senators, either Muslim or Christian, were against it simply for the fact of religion, saying that, according to the Bible, it says that women should be, submissive.
But submissive doesn't mean you should be under a man.
Exactly. So I think it goes back to the first question of what is the definition of gender equality.
Yeah.
So like Fahikemi said, it's not trying to be better than men. It's not trying to compete with men. It's just having access to the rights and opportunities regardless of your gender. So that's pretty much what it comes down to. But I would definitely say religion and culture are definitely barriers.
Okay. I went to do my research and I saw amazing figures online. And, it struck me that there was this, like some people say, it touched me. There was this thing that, it got to me, and I saw online that women actually constitute 50% of Nigeria's population. Yes. And the 2012 gender report that some people did stated that 80.2 million girls and women are suffering as a result of gender inequality in economy, in education, in politics, in health, even access to justice, and even equal opportunities that we're talking about. So women are basically suffering in every area,
even in finance.
What is the role of government in bridging these gaps so that we don't have all of this problem?
I would definitely say just enacting the different bills that are currently sitting in legislation to be passed. But let me just go back a step. And so we have the the Nigerian policy that we have to include about 35% of women in
action.
Exactly. And so right now we have about 3.4% of women in parliament. Only 3.4% out of the whole of Nigeria. So I think once we start to include women as decision makers, so giving them a seat at the quote-unquote table, we have to start there. And then in addition to that, actually enacting these laws, regardless of what we feel, the way that we feel like our religion or our culture may be threatened, we have to enact these laws.
We have laws. It's not like we don't have
several.
We have several laws. But these laws are not being translated into reality. So it goes back to point zero. So Fahikemi, what is your opinion concerning, the gaps, inequality gaps that we have in Nigeria and the role governments and other private stakeholders have to play?
If all women are the political sectors that have the strong voice in Nigeria can come together and carry along those women in both public and private sectors, women in the rural sectors, and everybody coming together to speak in one voice. We need to create a kind of a platform, like a movement, for everybody to be together under one umbrella to fight for this cause, to effect this change. Look at what happened about 40 years ago when our mama, Razam Kuti, Fumilayo Razam Kuti, she was the one that actually fought for women's rights that time. And that is the benefit we are still enjoying up till now. So if only one person can stand up on our feet to fight for women's rights and to enable that we are inclusive in governance and politics. So I believe if all these are women out there, that they are on the top position, if they could come together and bring everybody on board under just a single umbrella, in one accord, in one unity, and we begin to fight for this cause, it's going to be like a movement. So we are it's just as if we've been moving in one train to speak together and fight for this thing together, organize different press conferences, do a lot of actions of like movements, campaign work, and press conference, media. So this thing is going to really help us, to achieve this gender equality.
So that leads me to my next question. There's this thing that people do unconsciously. You leave out the youth, you leave out the young women in this case, because we're actually talking about women and girls, and there's no form of mentorship train. Even though there is mentor to some extent, some people may have mentors. It doesn't mean that your mentor should be like a 60-year-old. You could have your age mates as your mentors, but mentorship is not really a thing in our society. I don't know why is it so? Is it that people are not open to learning? Is it that people are not open to sharing ideas? Is it that we are not building this generation of girls or building a generation of equality like we're singing now?
According to Equal Measures, 75% of women between the ages of 15 to 24 are not in school, are not employed, and are not being trained. 75%, that's way too high. And so we have to include these women into, like what Faye Kemi was saying about all the campaigns, all the movements. We have to include them, but at the same time we have to include males. We cannot try to
have this conversation without the men.
It's everyone's issue. It's not just a women's issue. And I think that's also a common misconception where it's, that's the women's issue. Let them gather, let them meet together and figure out a way to handle it themselves. No, we have to be inclusive, young and old.
Lagos State, they have one initiative now, E for She.
Okay.
So they are being carried all the men along now. So if this thing can be done in all states and everybody coming together, like our men are supporting us. Okay, I remember something happened. I was in one office, that was last week. So we were just discussing about traditional rulers, who is the first, who is the leader. So I was about to just say something concerning, and a man said, hey, we are men are talking.
You can't talk.
You can't talk.
We might keep quiet.
Wow.
So when he said, I felt so cold. And a man, just like him, said, do you know that there are some things that you men, we know, and even women, they know more than what we know. So just allow her to speak. So that actually gave me the power to talk. So if we can, all these men that they have already changed their orientation, that they have this thing upstairs,
So
that they know what they're doing.
breaking cultural barriers,
changing their mindsets will really help us.
It seems like we have a lot of work to do, because we actually have to engage the gatekeepers and now going to the traditional rulers, because it is like they are just in one sector of the society. We don't feel their functionality. We don't feel like there's a presence of a ballet or an obi here, because it's when you carry some issues that have to do with women, they still come back to tell you what you just said. A woman should not talk where a man is talking, and so it's a kind of problem. I think we should start to reorient his mind. What is the role of agencies, advocacy groups, NGOs that take this advocacy forward? It's not just talking here. We actually have to do the walk the talk. So we have to. What is the role of CSOs? I'm interested in advocacy group. I'm interested in some group of young people that will go out there. You are not actually fighting. You're just trying to pass a message. So what is their role? Is there any role as women we have to take? Because we cannot sit down and allow the men do it for us. They would not be able to explain the way
The
a
way we
woman
feel,
is
we
feeling.
feel, yeah.
So what is the role as women? What is our role as women to make sure that we get this message out there and our voices are being heard?
I've spoken to some women and just like, oh, I don't want to be a man, or I don't want to do a man's work. But then when I say, oh, do you want to make your own money? Do you want to have extra money? They're like, then they start to listen. And that's also gender equality, being empowered to have businesses and to be able to take out loans, things like that. So when we start to define gender equality and raise awareness around the definition of equality, then I think everyone can actually play a
Get
part and
along,
have a
yeah.
say. Yeah.
All right. Looking at the same statistics, Nigeria has one of the lowest rates of female entrepreneurship in sub-Saharan Africa. Nigeria has higher numbers of women in casual, low skilled and low paid informal sector of employment. Same Nigeria has 4% of female that has completed secondary school in the northern zone. The same Nigeria has 2/3 of 15 to 19-year-old girls in northern Nigeria who are illiterate, that is, they can't even read or write. So, how can we demand accountability? Because education is truly important.
Okay.
We need to go to schools, and even the slums to reorientate these girls, because even there is this a saying that says we catch them young.
Okay.
We can be training them on leadership and even boost their self-esteem.
Okay.
So, and that one we really, because by the time they are growing up, they will begin to have this mindset of what their rights is really all about, what they can actually fight for. They will be able to stand on their feet and contend, even among their classmates, in their workplace and different places.
You mentioned something very important, which is also including those in the rural areas. We tend to forget them when we're discussing anything empowerment, or when we're discussing just women's gender equality in general.
Yeah.
It has to be rural, urban, anywhere.
So there has
we
to be
have
a synergy.
Exactly.
So everyone is actually entitled to equality, that is equality of rights and freedom without distinction or bias or based on gender. The world is changing and we should actually accommodate the value of gender equality, that is giving equal opportunities for everyone. Every woman has a voice and that voice must be heard. Her Voice is an initiative of Women Radio 917 under the Women's Voice and Leadership Project in partnership with ActionAid Nigeria and supported by Global Affairs Canada.